Alright, just give me a second. Let me fix my phone so I can record without, oh crap. Let me just put it right here. Alright, so I want to talk to you guys tonight about the movie Arrival. I first seen this movie about a year ago, and I don't like the way I'm looking at this camera. Yeah, I originally watched this movie about a year ago. I was more, after seeing it, I was more, I don't want to say upset, but I was more upset about how quickly it was tossed on Hulu. I remember it coming out, and then all of a sudden it was on Hulu, so I didn't really get, I don't think I got enough chance or enough time to really figure out if I wanted to watch it or not. But yeah, it was on Hulu pretty quick, and I did watch it, and I remember just being in awe. The movie was so great. So I was talking to someone earlier, and she just watched it today, and we were talking about it, and I was like, you know what, this movie is really great, and it's really underrated, and I don't think it got enough of the credit that it deserves. So I wanted to come on here and really break it down for people, because it can be kind of a mind bender and kind of explain the storylines and what's happened and the whole theme behind the movie. So first, I'm looking at my notes over here. So the first thing I want to mention is that there is two storylines to this movie. There's a main storyline and then the subplot. And the movie is so good at misdirection. It keeps you 100% focused on the first storyline and kind of sneaks in the wrapping up of the second storyline in the end. So you're really like, oh, I really didn't notice that happening before, and then now you really look back and you see it and you're like, okay, I see it now. The main plot, the main theme of the movie is, I don't want to say misdirection again, time, the order of time, and all of that. Excuse me. Okay, so the movie opens with a little girl. You see the girl, and she's playing, normal kid stuff, and then you just kind of see like the different stages in her life, and that's when Louise comes in. She's the main character in the movie, and then you kind of figure out that it's her daughter. So the daughter ends up, you see in her hospital bed, and then she ends up dying, and then it flashes to her in present time, and she's a professor. I think she's like does language interpretations and stuff like that, but she does have a high clearance with the government, so they call her in sensitive situations where they need her to interpret different languages. I don't even know what I write. Okay, so the alien crafts come and they land pretty early on in the movie. So basically, you know what the movie's about, and they go to her to see if she can help them interpret or try to communicate with these beings, and you can feel her. You can feel the nervousness and the shakes and all of that she's going through before meeting these creatures. So they get her and then another scientist, Ian, and they kind of work together to kind of get language and communicate with these beings. But then after her initial meeting with these beings, she starts having flashbacks. Now, this flashbacks is of this little girl that you see in the beginning of the movie, and she has them throughout the movie. And she has them throughout the movie. Now, while they're trying to learn the language, they're also teaching them our language. And I mean, this movie wraps up pretty quick, if I'm explaining it. But anywho, they're teaching, they nicknamed them, they're two aliens. 12 ships, land on 12 different spots on Earth. And their ship has two aliens in it. They nicknamed them Abbott and Costello. So they're trading, languages. They're learning their language, and then the aliens are learning our language, because they're trying to figure out what they're doing here. So, like, the first real conversation they have about, trying to figure out what they're doing here is, she asks them, what is your purpose here? So they come back with offer weapon, which is their, translation of our words, but in their language. So if you try to transfer languages, things don't always match up. So it sends everybody in a panic now, and all the other nations are now trying to threaten war on the aliens, all because of the weapon use, which when I heard offer weapon, obviously that means I'm here to give you a weapon. But they don't know if they were trying to use the weapon on them or not. Okay, that's the ending. What else? Yeah, also weapons, blah blah blah. So now they're trying to wage war on these beings, and she's trying to figure out, what their real purpose here is. So some of the rogue servicemen planted a bomb in there while she was trying to get them to further explain what they meant. And they try to save Louise and Ian, because they both were in there, because they saw that the bomb was going to go off. They sent them throughout and closed the door. And when they did that, it ended up killing one of the aliens, the one they call Abbott, which I'm not sure if it's a man or a woman. But that one's called Abbott, so now there's one left. So they're in a race against time to trying to stop them from, the war situation. So she wanders out. Well, now that they've been attacked, they raise up a little bit more. They're in orbs, and they were like right here off the ground. So when the bomb goes off, they raise themselves up to try to protect themselves from further attack. But they see Louise come back, and they send like a little ship down for her, and then she goes up and she talks to the one remaining heptapod, because they have like 7 legs or whatever. She talks to the one remaining, and again, she tries to figure out, that's when that one that's left told her that the other one has died. And she tries to figure out again why they're here. And again, he says, I'm here, or we're here to offer you a weapon, basically. And no, he says, I'm sorry. He says we're here to help humans, because in 3,000 years we're going to need humans' help. And then he explains to her that he kind of explains to her that time to them is not as linear as it is for us. They kind of live within each moment in time at the same time. Now, what I find funny about that, or strange about that, is that same concept is in Man in Black 3 with the alien that gives Jay the thing that protects the earth from the ArcNet. He gives Jay the ArcNet, and he is able to live each moment in time at the same time. And what is funny is that that same guy that plays that character is actually in this movie that's talking about the time and the linear time, whatever. But anywho, she says, she's confused at this point because she's like, how are we supposed to help you? And then again, she has a flashback of this little girl again, and she's like, oh my God, who is this little girl? So now the heptapod looks at her and says, Louise sees the future, which, if you're watching the movie, it kind of explains everything. Because if you watch her when she has these memories, which now are visions of the future, she's like confused and baffled, and it like hits her like a brick, and it completely throws her off, and she's like going crazy. But so now she knows why they're there, and now she's on a race against time, because they're literally getting ready to fire on all of these aliens in a matter of minutes. So she's on a race against time to try to get them to stop and explain to them why they're actually here, that they're not here to cause harm. And she's standing there, and all of a sudden she sees her future with the China. I'm not sure if he's Chinese or what, but he's the one over the Chinese nations or the Asian nations or whatever. And she sees herself at like her book opening, because after this, that alien gives them their whole vocabulary, their whole language, and she ends up writing a book and teaching everybody this language. Now, this language is what they refer to as the weapon, which is actually a gift. And the thing is, once they learn their language, they start to perceive time differently, just like the aliens did. So they're able to see every moment of their lives, past, present, and future, within that one moment. And that's what that's what her book explains, and she teaches everybody this language. Now, like I said, she's standing there in a race against time to get them not to fire on these aliens, and she jumps in her mind, and she jumps like 18 months into the future and sees that she's talking to the Asian nation guy, and he tells her, you called me, and he shows her his private number that she calls, and whispers to her what she said to him. And that's where she learned the paradox. So that's where she learned his number and what to say to him to get him to not fire on these aliens. So he ends up calling everything off. Hold on a second. Yeah. He ends up calling the attack off, and she's just standing there reminiscing. She's standing there while everybody's packing up everything, her and this Ian guy. And she's standing there while they're packing up everything, and she's seeing how, because before she's seen the daughter and herself, but she never knew who the husband was. She didn't see that. So now she's standing there, and everything's starting to become clear. She's going in her mind, and she's seeing the future and who her husband is. And then she realizes that it's Ian, the other scientist, or the scientist that was there, that she'd been working with this whole time. And like, she knows the futures of what's gonna happen with her daughter, and she waits till the daughter's already here and a couple years old, and then she tells Ian. That causes them to break up and divorce. And yeah, So when you see them like during the movie and she's talking about the dad and the divorce and all of that, that's what caused the divorce, is that she knew what was going to happen to their daughter, and she didn't tell him till afterwards. What else? But yeah, like I mentioned before, the main story and the sub story. The main story is the aliens coming in, the arrival of the aliens, and them trying to figure out whether they're good or bad. Now the subplot is when you're watching and you notice that it's actually a love story between Louise and Ian and their family and all of that. And when I tell you guys this movie, if you haven't seen it, you definitely need to see it. If you have seen it, go watch it again. This movie it's not only the story or the plot or the acting or any of that makes it good. It's the visuals. It's the way that it's the way that you feel, like, can you kind of feel what they're feeling in the movie? It's truly a good movie for you to watch, and I truly do recommend this movie. This movie I do give a 4 out of 5 because it is actually that good. The mystery in it is the questions that come up. You know, the ending ties everything together, but you still have those questions throughout the whole movie. So it's a good watch, and the actors really did a good job. Like, let me know if you guys have seen it and if you like it, any questions you guys might have. I try to explain it the best that I possibly can. If something I missed, let me know. And yeah, that's it.